Okay, guys, we are learning some great stuff about the Behringer X32. Now you're at the point where you know how to get signal through the X32. You even know how to do some EQ, how to do some compression, some gating, right? All those dynamic things to your channels. We know how to get stuff to the main left-right bus, but now we want to start talking about how do I send things out to mix buses.
McRae Music.
Hey guys, how are you doing? I'm richly blessed. Pray that you are as well. All right, we want to send stuff to mix buses so that we can create separate mixes for a variety of different reasons. Stage mixes and band mixes. You get a mix. You get a mix. Everyone gets a mix. Okay, maybe it's not that exciting, right? But we need to create these separate mixes for these different reasons. We're going to use Mixbusses to do that, all right? Before we get into the video, I did do a different setup this time. I wanted to, I'm experimenting with different stuff, all right? So I wasn't fully happy with the clarity of the X32 portion, like the faders and being able to see the scribble strip and all that kind of stuff. So I'm using a different setup this time where my face is not in there. And I was able to create two different shots, and I think this turned out a lot better. All right, so you guys already know what I look like, so you don't really need to be looking at my face, but I thought it would have been nice for my face to be in there, but it's just not happening this time. So we'll try this. This will be the setup for the next 3 videos. If it's not working for you, throw it in the comment section. Hey Ed, I miss your face. And though that would be a little creepy, it would make me understand to put the face shot back in the video, right? So, but just give you a heads up, that's what it's going to be. Before we get into this, please take a moment and like this video and subscribe to this channel so that you can get notifications, and make sure you hit that join button. By the time this video is out, members only content is available on the channel, and you are missing out if you are not a part of the control room. It's only $1.99. Go ahead and do that if you would like to. And without further ado, let's take a look at how we can utilize Mixbusses. All right, guys, let's talk about sending things to Mixbusses. Now, I know some, if we're in DAW world, you might call it an aux, but we're going to use the terminology that the X32 uses because I don't want to confuse you. I don't want you to confuse Mixbusses with the actual physical aux on the back of the console, right? The aux outs. So we're going to talk about sending things to Mixbusses. We have 12 different mix buses that we can use. 4 of them are reserved for effects. You might be able to repurpose those, but let's just say for purposes of this video that we have 12 mix buses that you can utilize. Now, I want you to think of a mix bus as a vehicle for getting audio out of the X32, right? We've already learned how to send audio out to the main left-right bus, or left-right center bus. But now we're talking about sending things out to other mix buses. And this is allowing us to build separate mixes that can then be sent out to like a stage monitor or a band monitors or in-ear mixes, or maybe a fellowship hall mix or a broadcaster stream mix, whatever it is you need, right? But I want you to think of mix buses as being the way to get things out. The reason why I'm stressing that point is because we're going to learn about several things that seem kind of similar but have different purposes, right? In another video, we're going to talk about subgroups, and we're going to talk about DCAs. Those seem similar, but they are not tools to get things out of the X32. They're tools we can use for grouping and manipulating things within the X32, but the only thing that we can get physically out of the X32, unless we're talking about direct outs for each channel and such, is the mix buses, okay? So I hope that we understand that. So what I've got going on here is I'm using my DAW, and I have the X32 routed to receive signal from the DAW on each channel. I have choir mics from channels 1 through 7. I've got a lead mic on mic 8, on channel 8. I've got piano. I don't know if you can see this too well, but I've got a piano left and right on 9 and 10. I've got a bass on 11, a kick drum on 12, and an overhead on 13. And I have a reverb send from the DAW coming back here to the board on 15 and 16. Nothing going on the rest of these channels. If you don't know how to configure your DAW to be able to send things to for the X32 to receive them, you're going to want to watch the video that I did, card up in the top, on configuring your X32 for use within your DAW. That will teach you how to do that. But this is a recording that I actually recorded on the X32 of a group called the Chester Children's Chorus. It's a children's choir out of Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. The kids are from Chester, Pennsylvania, and it is my absolute favorite gig. Link into the description for them so you can check their stuff out. I love hearing those kids sing. It really, really moves me every time I hear them sing, right? So let's just listen to what this sounds like coming through the console. Cool, this is good. We've got stuff going to the main left-right bus. I've got a couple of potential mix buses configured here. I've got a mix bus here for the stage. Let's say that we had monitors on the stage for people to hear, for the kids to hear. I've got that mix bus. I've got a mix bus here for the band. Let's just imagine that we are sending this out to an in-ear monitor system for the band. So we've got that. And then I've got a stream left and right. We can see we've got those two grouped together or paired together, left, right. And this is, of course, let's say going out to a live stream, okay? I want to talk about sending things to these mix buses, but before I do, I want to talk about the different modes that these sends could be set up in. So let's go to our stage bus, and let's go over to the configuration area here. And we're going to see several things here. We have custom, we have input/low cut, we have pre-EQ, we have post-EQ, we have pre-fader, we have post-fader, and we have subgroup, right? These are all different modes that our send could be in. And I'm going to explain each one, but I want to do it on another screen that has a diagram that will kind of really help you to see what each of these mean, because what these all are different points in the signal chain, right? Signal is starting from our preamp, passing through, all right? And these are different points at which we could send things to the bus, all right? So let's actually go to one of the channels. I'm going to go over here to chorus 1, and let's just page over to the sends area. And we're going to see that we can configure something similar. If I go to layer 2 here, I can configure each of these, and we can see how they're set up. And they are set up in pairs, right? So we're going to have the same send mode for a stereo pair of buses, right? And that's one of the drawbacks of using the X32. It does not give us that total freedom of routing that we would have with like the Behringer Wing, or if you start getting into the bigger consoles, the Digico stuff, the Soundcraft stuff, right? You can do whatever you want. In the X32, as we've discovered with our routing videos, where we talked about routing, it puts things in blocks, right? Same thing is happening here. But here we have a diagram where you can see each point. So let's talk about this. First of all, the input/low cut is going to send our signal out right after the low cut. So basically, signal would hit your preamp, it will pass through your low cut, and then right at that point, we would be sending out, okay? So that's input/low cut. Then we have pre-EQ, which is here. This would include the gate as well as the preamp and the low cut. Post-EQ would include all those things, plus the EQ. Whatever EQ changes you do on the channel would be going out as well. Pre-fader would include all of that stuff, plus any compression settings that you have. Post-fader would include everything that you've done on the channel, including your fader movements. And then subgroup, we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to deal with that in a separate video, okay? Now, the default for all these is going to be post EQ, right? And you would choose the option that is suitable for whatever it is that you're doing. Most of the time, post EQ is what we would want, right? We are EQing the channel, doing whatever it is that we're doing to the channel, and then we want it to go out to the mix bus before our fader starts moving. We don't want our fader movements from front of house to impact what's going on inside of our mix buses, most commonly, right? There are times where you might want to do post fader, right? Let's say we are sending to, I don't know, a fellowship hall. Or let's say we're sending to, or here's a good one. Let's say we're sending to a reverb, right? And we want to make sure that if we pull our vocal back on the dry signal on the channel, we also want it to pull back on the reverb as well, right? We don't want the reverb to still be super loud and the vocal be quiet, right? That is an example of that. But you would choose whatever it is you want. Now, what you are able to do is come and set up a different setting for each channel. So if I came here, let's say for whatever reason, I wanted channel 1 to be pre-fader. If I set that to pre, now when I go back to the configuration for my bus here, notice that that is set to custom, right? Because I'm now doing something different on each, on a specific channel, as opposed to the whole bus, right? I really don't know that that's something you'd want to do unless you had no other choice, because that could get real sticky, right? If you start doing separate things for each channel and you don't remember what's pre-fader, what's not, that could get real weird. But if you needed to do that, you could do that, all right? So that is what all these different things over here mean. I hope that's helpful to you. You could choose what you want when you needed to do it, or we could, from this place, set the whole bus up, which is probably more what I would do. I would set the whole bus up as post EQ or pre-fader or whatever it is that I want, okay? So that's what's happening there. The default setting, by the way, is post EQ. That's when you take the X32 out the box, all your mix buses are going to be set to post EQ. So if you don't change anything, that's what it's going to be, okay? All right. Now, I want to start sending some stuff to my mix buses. Now, I can do that from the individual channel. If I go to sends and I go layer over to layer 1, I can start controlling each individual layer here if I wanted to do so. I don't know why stuff is going here. That should be off. But I could go ahead and do that if that's what I wanted to do. But that is not the best way to do that. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is using sends on faders. I'm going to show you 2 ways we could do that. Firstly, and I'm going to pull up the volume for my overall fader here for this bus. Firstly, we could select a mix bus. I'm going to select my stage mix. Select. I could then hit sends on faders. Boom. All my faders change, right? This is now representative of the mix going to the stage, okay? So I could do that for each bus, right? I got stuff going there still. I don't know why this stuff is still going there. So I could do that for each of these buses, right? And it's going to change. Let's start playing our track again, and I'm going to send some things to the stage bus, and I want you to pay close attention. You're not going to hear a difference in the audio. I do not have a separate output where you can just hear what's going on that bus, but I want you to pay close attention to the metering here on bus 1. You'll also see it up here, and I'm going to solo it as well. I want you to pay attention to the solo meter there also. Let's do it. All right, so now this is now the mix that is being sent to the stage mix, right? If I switch over to band, nothing's being sent to the band. If I switch over to stream, nothing is there. This is just the stage mix, okay? Let's go to another portion of the recording where the band is playing, and let's send some stuff to the band mix. All right, same thing. So now this is the mix going to the band. This is the mix going to the stage. So I've got no band going to the stage right now. Let's say that the singers are like, hey, we need to hear some piano, right? I could turn the piano up on the stage mix. It's different from my band mix. I've got no vocals going to the band mix. Let's say they're like, hey, we need to hear the lead vocal, or maybe we want to hear a little bit of the choir, right? Not a lot. So I can go ahead and pull the choir up a little bit in the band mix, right? Different from the stage mix. Stage, you're like, we need to hear more choir. Cool. Can go. So we could do that. Let's say for the live stream, right? I could go to the live stream and let's say we want to hear the choir. We want to hear the lead stronger than the choir. And then let's say we want some piano and some bass, and some reverb. But let's say we don't need the kick or the overheads in the live stream mix, just for example. So now I've got 3 different mixes. Here's my live stream mix. This is a stereo pair, so it's the same. Here's my band mix. Here is my stage mix. All right, there we go. So we can use sends on faders that way, or we could do the opposite. I could have sends on faders on here, and then I could select a channel, and now it's doing the opposite. Now it's showing me the level for that particular channel on each of my buses. This is great if I need to turn one thing up or down in a lot of different places. Let's say I've got, 5 different band mixes, right? I got a keyboard mix, keyboard 1, keyboard 2. I've got a guitar player, a bass player, and a drummer. And all 5 of them are like, hey, we need to hear more of the lead vocal, right? Instead of going to each mix separately and doing that, I could say, all right, let's hit the lead vocal. Boom. And now let's bring the lead vocal up. Quick, done. Everybody's happy. Everyone has more lead vocal now, right? So we can do that both of those ways, right? Either from the channel or configure each separate mix overall this way, right? So sends on faders really is the way to go. Nice, easy way to create separate mixes, right? This is good. Okay, I hope that was helpful to you. You know now how to create different mixes, how to send them out. Again, if you need to, go back. I covered it very quickly about the routing. If you need to, go back and watch previous videos. We have covered routing extensively here on this channel. All the stuff we talked about, and I specifically walked through routing to external outputs back in our series on live streaming, right? So go back and watch those videos, and that can be helpful to you. If you need to remember how to configure your X32 so that it can receive signal from a DAW, go back and watch my video about using the X32 in the studio. Matter of fact, I'll put both of those 2 videos on the end screen at the end of this video. All right, we've got much more to talk about. Next video in this series is going to get into the usage of subgroups, which are really, really cool. So definitely want to check that out. All right, see you guys again soon, and we'll talk about subgroups. Peace. Thanks for watching. Hey, here's some other content you might want to check out. Just a suggestion, no pressure. Feel free to watch whatever you want on the channel. Also, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? That way you can be notified when new videos are coming out. And feel free to hit that join button too for members only content in the control room. See you next time.